Let the bass kick.
Ha!
He's on. We're up. We're live.
Yeah,
Are
but
we?
the broadcast is still interrupted. We are having some broadcast issues. Wi-Fi's been crazy lately, dude. Comcast is off its game. The
Who?
show.
What? Yeah, Comcast has been terrible. I've been running a freaking 60 ping trying to play some Rocket League. That's terrible. I'm
This
used to
is
30.
Frontier Internet, sir.
Yeah, bro. I don't know what's going on with
Frontier.
Comcast.
Anyway,
Better get that booster.
Google
yeah,
Fiber.
it is episode 85.
Oh, we're live.
There's
Oh,
our buzzer.
wow.
letting
We're
us know
recording.
we're
I
going.
mean, Facebook is having a hard time keeping up, but
Okay.
the show continues, man. This will be on YouTube
What else is new? Facebook.
and everything else. Episode 85 of the MCDG podcast. It is Monday, June 15th. Got it again.
Boom.
85th.
85th.
What is it? Was that
I'm a little live.
1, 2,
with
3,
the
4,
microphone.
5.
Yeah. So, man, I'm really excited because this has been a long time coming. We've talked about doing this for quite a while, and we are excited to have the man, the myth, Steve Hardie, in the studio.
Boom. Golf snap.
He does exist.
Welcome to the Sapphire Lounge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Live in studio.
Good.
Yeah, first try.
I do have to say, for posterity's sake, there are those who said this could not be done, that this day would never come. And to those people of little faith, I say, ha! Rue the day.
Wow.
Rue the day.
Rue it.
Wow. That's,
Steve Hardie is here
that
in
was
the
intense.
flesh.
That was intense.
It did take some finagling and some toe wrangling, but we got it done.
Yep, absolutely.
Steve, how are you tonight?
Doing great.
Awesome.
How's that? How we been doing today? Anything fun?
Playing disc golf.
What? No way.
Drinking beer.
Yeah.
Hey.
What else is there?
Taking it easy.
Nothing really, I don't guess.
Yeah. That's
From that
living the
angle,
dream.
I got
Living
nothing.
the dream, man.
Yeah. Well, how'd you shoot?
2 strokes off a Stone and 1 stroke off a Rodney.
Gosh,
No, I
that's
tied
Stone.
Rodney. Never mind.
Yeah.
You tied Rodney.
blue.
He's pretty all right.
He's an okay golfer.
Yeah.
Stone, he's.
Boy, I tell you
he's
what,
hit or miss. He if he gets that stop parking that putt going,
Stone is definitely a dangerous one when you're out there trying to win some cash.
yeah,
You got to watch out for him.
Or
You got to
putting
watch out for a
contests.
few guys out there.
yeah, putting contest. He took all the prizes. Cedar Hill.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
So, real quick, before we start getting way off track, let's go ahead and get into the weekly breakdown. Do a quick event update. Starting on Saturday, we'll go ahead and say we've got Seven Oaks doubles at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with John Williams, and that is 2 o'clock round. Random draw doubles is the name of the game, and the A spot is at $50. So get you some money. And then moving into Sunday, we've got Seven Oaks singles with Q-Tip, and that is probably sitting at about a $200 A spot. That's a 9 o'clock round. Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we've got Cane Ridge doubles, and that's a bring your own partner format these
Yes.
days. So the way you can get signed up for that is anytime during the week, reach out to Big Z, Robert Zavala, let him know you and your partner, give him a team name, let him know you'd like to play, and he'll set you a tee time sometime between 12 and 3, then you guys can go play.
And we just paid out this past week. Whoa. Hot mic.
It's a little
Speaking
crowded
of the
in
mic, sir.
Sapphire Lounge tonight.
This is my first time on the podcast. My name's
I remember my first beer.
Dr. Hoy is listening. You just can't hear him.
I'm listening.
On Monday night, tonight, we've got Squanchers Ferry doubles at Sanders Ferry Park going down. They're playing. They're fighting for that $262 ace pot as we speak. So on Mondays, you could listen to the podcast or watch it live on Facebook if we have Wi-Fi while you're playing Sanders Ferry doubles. So go play Sanders Ferry doubles. Russell
get you
Hammond,
some money.
Derek Rowland, get
Yep.
you some money.
That's right.
Also, Monday nights, we've got Sharp Springs random draw doubles. That's also, I believe, around a 5 o'clock round, $10 buy-in. Get you some money. Tuesday night, we've got Seven Oaks doubles with Dave Griffin. So I think that A spot's still riding somewhere around $200 as well. And we've also got Triple Creek random draw doubles at Triple Creek Park in Gallatin. And that A spot is Captain running at $250. Get you some money.
Oh.
250.
250. Wednesday night, the Wednesday night
Tag
extravaganza. And that is a 5 o'clock round. Well, really, Dr. Hoy gets there at about 4:30. You can sign up anytime, starting about 4:45. And we'll send groups of 4 out as they arrive. $1 to play, $2 optional ace pot, $2 optional CTP, $5 optional side bet, and come get you some money. What's our ace pot at, Dr. Hoy?
Ace pot's about 100 smackers right now.
100
so.
smackers.
Whole 100.
Old school.
Did y'all ever heard
I
the
remember
term for
smackers.
money?
I remember smackers.
That mic's below your chin, Jay.
Oh, mic's below my chin.
Is that better?
Is that better for you, sir?
Part of a podcast, part of see if Will can spot the bad mic.
Will is just so, he's like, I must control the mic.
No, man. Just want everybody to be able to hear the
Hey,
introspective and intuitive
Well,
things that you have to
we're
say.
glad-
I have a very subtle voice.
Will works harder than me and Jay combined on the podcast.
That's 100% true right there, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
we were literally just all.
I'm
sitting
just
around
here for the
table
ride.
Playing an app, and Will was actually doing work. So, thank you.
It's not our fault he doesn't try to share the load. I don't know anything about it, but if I did, I'd at least offer.
I don't know what I just did.
Oh, he broke it again. Did
Talk
you
amongst
forget
yourselves. Here's a topic: disc golf.
in 5
No
minutes?
discs.
So I've just ruined.
All of that?
Well, I was trying to get the TV to work, and somehow it's doing some weird stuff. Trying to show.
Uh-oh.
We'll just go ahead and set this back to off. And we're back. Cool.
Oh, hey.
Sorry about that, guys.
Hey,
Hey, whoa. What? When?
So yes,
Wednesday night,
WNT Wednesday nights, also Wednesday nights, Cedar Hill random draw doubles with Billy Fowler and company. Go out there about 5 o'clock and play random draw doubles. And I don't know what their ace pot is, but they got one. So go get you some money. Also Wednesday night, Henry Horton, Duck River Disc Golf presents random draw doubles. And they have 3 or 4 bounties at $268. I think 4 bounties at $268 now. And hole 12 is at $330 through donations. So get you some money.
I like this. I mean, basically, you can make money during the week and play every night. And it's summertime, so it stays light. No glow golf right now.
Lots of action on Wednesday night. And moving into Thursday, we've got White House random draw doubles out at White House Park with Lance Kirby and them. And that is a $300 ace pot. So great googly moogly. Go get you some money. 5 o'clock Thursday night, White House Park. Go get you some. And they just got some new baskets.
Real pretty like.
And they're putting in the
Wait.
kids course.
Are they Prodigy baskets?
No.
Are they Prodigy baskets?
The previous baskets they had are T1s, and we replaced them with red, white, and blue veterans. So those T1s are getting repainted or rebanded, and they're going to be used to create a kids course.
No way.
Yep.
I think
thought-
kids should definitely put on Prodigy baskets.
They would definitely learn something.
No, I'm gonna leave it there.
They won't grow up limp wristing their putts, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And won't be hitting strong side either.
Yep. So Thursday night, we've also got Barfield random draw doubles at Barfield in Murfreesboro. 5 o'clock round, I believe $10 buy-in. Don't know what the ace pot is, but there is one, so go get you some money.
Nice.
Friday night, weekend kickoff, back in the rotation. Naval Hill, DGC at Shelby Park in East Nashville. Ace pot just got smashed recently, but it's at $54. Good shot.
Shakalaka.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is your weekly breakdown.
Breakdown.
Real quick,
Breakdown.
I want to mention some events we've got coming up. Of course, there is the Seven Oaks Summer Solstice coming up this coming Saturday, June 20th. So pre-registration is live until Thursday evening at 8. You need to get in. It's pre-registration only.
Tee times will be available Friday morning after close of registration Thursday night. I know we'll probably get that question about 20 or 50 times
About 20
after
or
close
50.
of registration. But
Yep.
if you got any ideas or questions about tee times, that's what it's going to be.
Yep.
What he said. How many spots are
And-
left open in that?
About
Why?
half.
Yeah.
Last time I looked, it was about, I think we got what, room for about 150, and it was about 75.
Nice.
Yeah.
You
Somewhere in
running
that
open,
range.
Hoy?
We got
Plenty of
plenty
open
of room.
spots.
Are you playing?
No.
You're not playing.
No, sir. Maybe. I
Easy
don't know.
with the sirs around
Well,
here.
Well, We'll wait and see if I'm playing, but
Well, I'll get that 3:30 tea time. I'll play with you.
We do have
Hey.
fundraiser discs available, you guys. We definitely got some good fundraiser discs available. Lucid Chameleon Raiders and a whole bunch of other stuff in different molds for Players Pack discs. So that's going on. Also coming up here pretty soon, let me get rid of one of these things that I enabled. We'll get rid of that and that. Also, coming up right after that on... Where is it at? Here we go. June 27th and 28th. That's not it. Where is socially distanced?
That did say social distance.
No, here we go. Boom. Socially distanced at Ogwood, June 27th and 28th. I don't know which day is which. I think it's June 27th is Saturday. So that's going to be Flex Start singles, $30 entry, all divisions. And that's going to be with J-Ray. J-Ray's bringing the RV, the DD RV up to Ogwood. So we've got singles on Saturday and doubles on Sunday. Pre-registration for both events is live on Disc Golf Scene. So that's what's coming up after the solstice.
Shout out to J-Ray.
Yes.
Surviving things, being a survivor and all.
Yeah, I don't want to broadcast it
Yeah, I
too
don't
much
either.
on his behalf.
He's a survivor. That's all.
But
that
he
matters.
did make a post about it, so I think we can comfortably say, yes, J-Ray did get COVID-19. So for all those posts you see that say, do you know anybody that got this disease? Yes, we do.
Yeah,
We do.
yeah.
We know somebody very near and dear to us that got this disease, so it's real.
I heard that he was in a very wonderful place to get it, though, like where he was staying.
Yeah, he was hanging out at his dad's ranch in Florida. So the beaches were open. He was going to the beach, which may be why he got COVID-19.
Who knows? We don't want to speculate.
Background tracing?
No speculation here.
What is it called? What kind of tracing?
I'll
You
get
do-
back
you
to you
do
guys
you,
next
J-Ray.
week with the
You do you.
tracing.
Yeah.
Epidemiologic risk tracing.
Yeah.
So we do have that coming up. And for everybody that's going to ask this question, which it's already been asked, and just for full disclosure, J-Ray is now about 3 weeks into his symptomatic phase with COVID-19. So basically when he went into the hospital and tested positive, they told him to go quarantine for 2 weeks. And then once he was symptom-free, come back, get tested again, and then just keep testing until he's cleared. So I've been talking to him every few days, and last week his update was that he felt much better, felt like he had like mild cold symptoms, but was feeling much better. So obviously, if he tests clear, we go forward with socially distanced at Ogwood, and if he doesn't, then we cancel it. But if it cancels because of that reason, you will get a full refund. I personally guarantee it.
Full.
Yep. So go ahead and get signed up. So because this is like everything else this year, you guys, it's going to be pre-registration only. We're going to try and be following the rules here. So
Well, from what I understand, if we don't follow the rules, that Metro will fine us like they did some of the businesses downtown this past weekend.
yep,
So we
Tis
don't want
the
any fines.
case. And they're encouraging people to report people too. So
Don't be
we
a
want to
narc
avoid
either.
all that. Yeah, don't be a
Snitches
negative
get stitches,
Nancy.
bro.
Snitches get stitches. The show. So after socially distanced at Ogwood, we've got Independence Dubs coming up on July 4th. And that's Bring Your Own Partner Doubles. We're going to be at White House Park. It's going to be awesome, as it always is.
Yes.
Then right after that, we've got Event 6 in our bag tag series at Naval Hill the day after, July 5th. Sunday, July 5th.
Ooh.
Pre-registration for that is live at Disc Golf Scene. It is pre-registration only. Tee times, get signed up.
And Naval Hill is looking nice. 19-hole layout.
Yep.
In the middle of July. Let's do it, boys.
And right after that, the very next weekend, we're doing Straight Out of Quarantine at Ogwood. Saturday, July 11th, will be the remake or the make-up date for the All Good, the 6th annual All Good at Ogwood. And the next day, Sunday, July 12th, will be the make-up date for E3 at Ogwood.
Awesome.
Pre-registration is live at Disc Golf Scene. Get signed up or forever hold your peace.
So if you didn't get that, 2 bag tags in 1 month.
Yes,
Just go to Disc Golf Scene and sign up for everything we got.
All at
out
once.
there.
Just do it all.
let's do it all.
Blow that whole paycheck, guys. It's fine. Nobody's going to get mad at you, and everything will work out.
Sign up for it all.
Just play disc golf. That's all.
Not all of it's open.
Hit an ace at the weekly league, and then you can sign up for every one of these tournaments.
It's that easy, yo. How many aces you have, Steve? I mean, you got a bunch of them, I'm sure.
I've been asked that a lot.
He's like, I don't
Too
even
numerous
know.
to count.
There's so many of them out there.
More than 50, less than 100. So
Well, that's
that's
nice.
99, I'm guessing.
I'm going
45
99
years
too.
worth.
We'll just call it that.
Yeah.
Even 99.
Yeah.
That's all of the stuff that I really have to talk about. I do want to mention on July 25th, some of you have seen the event page for the Battle of Music City, and it's a unique kind of team challenge type of tournament. It's basically you're going to assemble a team and play match play. Really unique form of match play. Andrew Lamont is starting this up. He came to us. He's a newer member. Came to us from Virginia, and they do like a big club challenge tournament where all the area clubs assemble teams, and then they all come together at a tournament and play by these match play rules. And so you get bragging rights and trophies and all that stuff. So he wants to do something like that here in Tennessee with like Tennessee area clubs, and this is just he's never run an event before, so this is his first thing. He's going to do a little local level style, and I'm helping him out with it a little bit. I'm hooking up with some people to work on a stamp, and we're gonna help him help a new tournament director that wants to run some stuff get up and running.
Hey, man, that's awesome. We need more of us. There's not enough.
Yeah.
Speaking of new guys to the club and things and challenges going on, what is this thing going on with the gentleman with his own course in Mount Juliet? He built a course, and he's been challenging people to come out and play, see if they can beat his course record.
I don't know a whole lot about it.
I've just seen it on Facebook.
I think he moved down here from
Michigan?
Washington State.
It's obvious he hasn't challenged me yet, so...
Well, Marcus, he doesn't know who the ringers are, bro. He ain't been here long enough.
I'd just like to comment on Marcus's hat. No
What is
comments
that?
in particular.
What is
but
that made
just,
out of? A straw? Is that,
if you could please let us know where you got that and what it symbolizes to you.
All right, so let's put this right up on the camera. Here we go. Check it out. You got a good little look-see. It's pretty pimp. I don't know.
Yes. And before we
it's
get
not
to
bad.
the meat of the show, let's point this out. We haven't talked about all the riots and all this other stuff that's been going on. There's a certain amount of strategy there, but also a certain amount of we get here together to enjoy each other's company and talk about things that interest us and be lighthearted and positive. And everything you hear about everywhere you go is talking about all the crazy negativity that's going on in the world. And they've been talking about this everywhere. Should people use their platform to talk about what's going on more than they are? And there are certainly logical sides to every argument that you could make about that. But
not here.
But we just, we don't want to presume or take it upon ourselves to speak for other people and make generalizations on stuff that's got plenty of commentary in the media already. But I do want to point this out. We are making statements, even if you're not noticing. I've got a little picture up on the screen that I took of Marcus and Dr. Hoy.
There's little Easter eggs around from time to time.
Yeah.
So,
but nonetheless, just give everybody love. That's all I'll say. I'll be done with it. Just love everybody. That's all.
Yep.
If you got the love in your heart anyway. Some people do, some people don't. Like me, I got lots of love for you guys.
Well, yeah,
I would just say be, understanding.
What was that? Was this a nice bumper sticker out there that says coexist?
No.
Let's just do that. Yeah, it does, and it's got like all the religious symbols, or maybe not all of them, but it's some of the major ones.
Oh, I didn't.
It's not. Yeah, I see it on cars from time to time.
I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, so we are not getting any kind of Wi-Fi connection.
We lost our feed to Facebook a while ago unless we reset it.
Well, we reset it before we started. So
the second time, because we only got like 15 seconds maybe of the first live feed when I checked it.
Everything's connected.
Oh, somebody hear me check it again?
No,
somebody give us some confirmation.
We're not streaming at all.
Oh,
okay. So yeah, sorry to everybody that has been tuning in live and been watching our posts and really excited to see this.
It's reloading.
Just direct message me and I'll put you on speaker and you can
here.
listen live. No, don't do that.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi is being really, really slow.
Maybe there's too many devices connected.
So anyway, we've talked about this. We've talked about that.
Connected to NASA.
We're still recording, and this is still going to go to YouTube. So I want
for you.
I want to again comment on the momentous nature of this occasion. We do finally have Steve Hardie in the studio with us, and this has been a long time coming. Steve, Jay, and I have talked about having you on this show since we started it, since we were doing it audio only, huddled around the same microphone
In my bedroom.
Yep, and.
Boy, we've come a long way, Will. I just want to point that out.
We really have.
Yeah.
You kind of needed to, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's fair. That's fair.
We had a lot of questions at the beginning, but it was not a big deal.
Yeah.
Nice turn, Marcus.
I'm out. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Strong the veil, I'm gone.
Power of the hat.
But yeah,
Drop the mic.
back to you what
Drop the
Will
head.
was saying. We had when we first started talking about this, and even you gotta give credit where some of it Alpo was a kind of a thought process behind this whole thing as well. But in the very, very beginning, the thought was like, let's get a bunch of legends. Let's get all the local legends. Let's get this list together and let's go through there and let's have these guys on here. And like, of course, like any good idea or any bad idea or any idea at all, things change. And so we've gone like up and down different ways. But that list has always been there, and we've always tried to get to it as much, as often as we can. And having you on here, Steve, is a big check mark for us. And we knew
I'm
kind
glad
of
to be
going
here.
in that we were gonna have to have you live in studio. So we're stoked to have you, man.
Glad to be here.
One of the guys out there who will toast you at disc golf if you are not on your game. For sure. How long have you been at
if
this?
You're on your game.
Yeah, if you're on it even.
Yeah, tell us a little bit, because if you guys that are watching or listening, I mean, obviously you would need to be watching, but if you're seeing this guy and you're newer to the club or you're newer to disc golf in Nashville, let me just clarify, yes, this is the gentleman that you see from time to time at Seven Oaks, carrying his discs in a library tote bag and beating up all of us young whippersnappers that think we are entitled enough to carry a pro tag. This is him. This is the man, Steve Hardie.
I can compete.
Yes, he can.
Slightly.
You're pretty much
definitely complete.
you're the only person that can still beat Stone, I'm pretty sure. So.
And like I towed around a cart full of 25 different discs, and he's got what 6 to 8, and he was smoking.
It's
everybody?
up to 16 now.
Oh, you got a modified library bag
Give
there.
us a little in the bag, like.
Yeah, what are you
couple
throwing
of your
nowadays?
go-to discs. Like,
A lot of Lat 64,
Okay.
Ballista, River Pro, Mall, and then Innova. Have a really nice couple of bosses.
Still too strong for
What do you
me.
throw the rollers with? I feel like
That
every
is
time
a-
I try to play you,
That's a patented
the
trade
roller-
secret.
Yeah, you don't be that.
I,
It's like I can't tell you that. I
I'm
have to kill you.
I'm trying to get a.
It's a
I can't
Discraft,
hear.
Well, the
Disc
boy's
craft.
trying to get pointers.
I'm
Flick.
just trying to figure out what you're throwing rollers with.
Discraft Lick.
Discraft what?
I've done that for
Flick?
Flick.
Okay. All right.
God, 20 years probably. I think they've been out that long.
Yeah.
And putting.
It's just
20 years is not as long
Yeah.
ago as it sounds like to me anymore.
Well, I mean, to think 20 years ago, like the beveled edge was out. It doesn't feel like it should be when you think about it.
I graduated high school 20 years ago.
I'm close.
Whoa.
A little bit.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah,
To the day.
class of 2000.
To the day. Yeah, yeah.
2000.
Class 2000.
Y2K, baby.
04.
It didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
And
It did not.
one other question, Steve. What do you putt with?
Yeah.
rhinos
Right.
and a, wow, what is the Lat 64 thing?
I don't
Pure?
know.
Or,
Pure?
Nope.
Dagger?
Judge.
Dagger?
That's dynamic disc, bro.
Dagger.
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 That
Dagger.
makes sense.
All right.
I hardly use it, but from long distance.
When
it
you
floats a
hit
lot
those
better.
putts, they are dagger. Like
Yeah, they're daggers.
literally, you're
daggers
like,
in the heart.
okay, I drove closer to the basket than Steve, and then he takes his turn, hits a 100-foot putt, and you're like, oh man. Then you like hit the cage, and you're like, God.
Well, they went that stroke.
Exactly.
There goes another one.
Yeah, so the Wi-Fi is not allowing us to connect to the stream, for sure. That's what's going on right now.
All right, so no stream. Steve, how long exactly? When did you start playing disc golf? Like, how long have you been at this?
73, 74,
All right, so
mid 70s.
so very beginning of the sport as a organized sport anyway.
Yeah, it was not organized around here. Howard, Clark, David Eiler, Barry Gill. Who else? But, there was 20 of us.
Wow.
Back then. And we all sort of came from different places. Ken and I and mutual friends would go down to Centennial Park and play around the Parthenon.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of my favorite shots was to throw an Anheuser against the wall on the inside of the columns, and it would just roll right down, all the way down the sides.
I was literally there like 3 days ago. I'm thinking about what you're talking about right now. Like, that's
Try
great.
it.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Yeah, you have to
could you
use a
get
putter.
away with that now?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Is it even open?
That's another good question. It's a Metro Park, right?
It's open. I was there.
Yeah.
So y'all played. I know that Ken mentioned that when we had him on, that y'all played a lot of object golf out in Centennial.
Yeah,
At
Centennial
Vanderbilt
and
then at
Vanderbilt.
Centennial. Yeah.
Right.
Because you played object golf at Centennial before there was actually a course there, because there was a 9-hole course there.
For 3 years maybe? Something
Oh,
like
really? I did not know that.
Yeah, over by where the sportsplex is.
that. Is
Okay.
now, yeah.
What happened with that? Just needed the space, or
Well, I
Needed
went
the-
back and listened to episode 60, 25 episodes ago that we did with Ken Folger. And
wow,
so-
it's been 25 episodes.
25 episodes ago.
Wow.
And the story was that they had the course set up, and everything was going well. Then they decided they were going to put the sportsplex in, and I'm going to let you tell the rest of the story because you guys made a deal with Metro
Oh, yeah.
to be able to salvage those baskets and install Seven Oaks.
Right.
Sound
And
right?
They were
Really?
pleased with what we had done and sent those 9 baskets, and we got 9 more from somewhere. And that was where Seven Oaks sprung up in 79.
Wow.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
That is correct. 79.
Now most of us know too that Seven Oaks is not the Seven Oaks that you probably know today. It definitely started out a little different, didn't it not?
The layout was the same. The intercourse wasn't there, of course.
What about the top baskets where we played the alternate?
That was part of the original
Yeah.
course, I think.
That's
That's
what I was
I've been
curious
told.
about. Was that the
It's
original?
been there a
or-
long time just because we needed the space
Yeah.
Really?
to have whatever.
events?
So-
back then it was 27 holes.
Let's
Oh wow.
let's make a transition. So it's the 70s. You started playing object golf. That was you and Ken and Barry and all those.
Didn't really know Barry until David Eiler's 78 tournament out at Percy Warner. Maybe it was Edwin Warner.
Okay, Warner Parks.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
That's very.
That's where a lot of us first knew each other
Okay.
from, because we'd all come from different places.
So there was disc golf at a Warner Park at some point in time in Nashville.
It was a temporary course, but in fact, it might have been objects.
Okay.
Yeah, in 78 it might have been. I'll have to ask David.
Yeah, I think Ken was saying it was something like early 80s, late 70s, like 79, 80, early 80s when baskets started going in the ground out here.
That would be Cedars of Lebanon.
Yep.
Okay.
And that was a part of Steady Ed and Tom Monroe's push for state parks in the southeast, was how that was designed. Am I correct in that?
Right, and there was another name associated with that. Y'all can look it up somewhere. Someone else helped Tom design that.
Yeah. The way I understood it, there was a local that kind of assisted, but it was like a design that was done remotely based on topo maps and then sent to the parks department, and then they were.
I'm curious who that
That
local
I
was.
don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
None of us were involved with that.
Yeah.
We just said, "Wow, baskets, let's go."
We're looking at a 1984 Cedars of Lebanon Pro-Am C tier.
Lebanon.
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 Where y'all
y'all,
playing?
y'all know where I'm talking about. And we got Steve Hardie coming in at 14th place.
Whoa.
Well,
PJ number 1418.
14,
And
18.
Has
see,
to be wrong. Couldn't be.
Wow.
I mean, I'm looking at the names on this list. It's amazing. You got H.B. Clark. You got Ken Folger. You know, like some of these names on here is like, wow. You got Barry Gills in here.
Right.
Wow.
Bob Vanderboss, Joel Rogers.
There you go.
Yeah, that's.
Is that it? Is that Steady it? No way.
Hedrick?
No way.
No.
You're right. No way.
So Cedars of Lebanon, followed up by, what was the next course in town? Was it Henry Horton that came
It
next?
may have been. Ken would be a lot better at that than I am. That was a Folger design. And the state parks were into it more than Metro was at that time. So it may well have come before Seven Oaks.
Okay.
How did you
Or
and Ken
Centennial.
meet?
Pardon?
How did you and Ken meet? Get hooked up playing disc golf?
I had
and-
known Ken. He was in my brother's class at Hillsborough.
Okay.
So that's my connection to him, and I've known him ever since.
Yeah.
So, in a good way and bad way.
Well, I would think when you know somebody for as long as you and Ken known each other, that there's definitely going to be some ebb and flow to that relationship.
Kind of brotherly in a way, yeah.
Now,
Just leave it at that.
are you now looking back? Are you two the only two from the beginning that are still around, or is there any others that are still out there hanging out?
David Eiler I still play with. Barry Gill I see occasionally. David Borders came a little later. Who else were we talking about?
Just anybody from the beginning that you remember?
That seems like the motley crew.
Yeah, I
right
was going
there.
to say, it seems like the
Yeah.
guys around here. What are you
Yeah,
boys reading
a lot
over
of
there?
them are still around. HB
Got
obviously
some
is
notes
still
in
around.
class. So.
You like me in that, bro?
Yeah, HB is definitely around. Definitely done some things for the sport. Were you involved with running any of these events as well, or were you?
Oh
just...
yeah, back in the day, Flying Disc Drive was our club. Formed in early '80s.
Now, you guys started because that was Kevin Dunn. That was the founder
Doc,
of that
yeah.
club, right? See, I did my research. I went back and listened to the Ken Folger episodes.
There you go.
To get I remember doing that.
Gold star alert.
I remember doing that
he's on it.
podcast. I remember thinking, like, man, Ken is really on his dates. And and even in the course of the episode, I had to keep asking him again. So what year was that? And he was like, bah, bah, bah.
Well, Ken also kept a notebook, I believe. So I'm sure you're familiar with this notebook, but he kept a notebook of everybody who showed up and everybody who came out. Him and Dave Borders have that in common, I suppose.
The way I understand it, Steve probably hated the notebook because you were the one that was behind kind of digitizing everything and putting everything into a format that could be archived. And you came up with a formula of how entry money would be divided for discs and whose money went where. There was some kind of formula.
Well, it got real complicated at the state tournament just because there were so many events.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you had one entry fee. You had to split it up according to who wanted to play what. So that's what we eventually got to, was that money got split among the events that player was playing. And so it got so complicated that putting it on a computer is pretty important. So
Yeah.
we did it at that point.
Now, I knew that there was freestyle, right? And there was accuracy and long drive. I remember
Double disc.
hearing about these
Double
events
disc score.
before I ever started playing, but it was more so a festival of a disc, flying disc, than just disc golf.
Bunch of different events.
Yeah. Well, obviously those have faded out, and it's just become disc golf tournaments. But were there any of those that are just kind of left in the dust that we don't know about?
K9
Yep, there we go.
went off on their own because obviously they have the sponsorship. So I forget which tournament it was, but the news photographer showed up to film and filmed the dogs catching the discs, and
That was that.
that was it. K9 was no longer an
They're like,
event.
bye, disc golf. See you later.
Yeah, Ken took care of that. So,
Dang.
but yeah, I mean, they've got their own thing going
Yeah.
because people love to watch it.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much, like you see it on ESPN from time to time, even.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
More so than disc golf back in the day.
Sure.
That was one thing that I was I found really interesting about our conversation with Ken was, that firsthand perspective about how everything started out in the overall format, where you had multi-event format, all these, double discord, ultimate, freestyle, all that stuff. And then by and large, you guys were investing a lot of time and money in maintaining that overall kind of format, and your numbers were just dwindling over time. And
everybody was interested in disc golf.
Yeah.
Primarily. I mean,
Okay.
to the exclusion of everything else. They would do that for that one tournament, but, we are disc golfers.
Was it pretty overwhelmingly leaning towards disc golf, or were there, because it sounded, I've heard different stories, different accounts of it, and it seemed like there was a lot of people that were maybe even more committed to one of the other events in the tournament.
Well, freestyle for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were into free, like Joel Rogers.
Correct.
Joel Rogers was the big freestyle guy, and he's got a lot of records and championships.
And knows a lot of people that would come in and do that event.
Yeah.
But they too would be playing disc golf, so and everything else.
My question is really like, because I know as things change over time and we kind of change up our processes and our methodology and the way we do things to be more accommodating to the trending kind of way things are going and accommodating for further growth. We're always trying not to leave anything behind that is, valuable or important.
Yeah.
And I know that there are certain things. It's like, with the bag tags, we've had to do all kinds of crazy stuff to keep having room for people to join into the bag tags. So at first it was adding holes, making like a temp layout so that you could get more people in. Then we split AMs and pros, and now tee times is making that a little bit easier to deal with. But every time you get further and further away of that big, and obviously COVID-19 has had something to do with that too, but that big gathering of everybody coming together and being sociable and getting to love on each other.
Well, I think the COVID.
And every time we get a little further away from that, it's a little bittersweet.
Oh, it's definitely bittersweet, but I think that one of the reasons why I love our club and community and running the Music City Open, now COVID be damned this year, it may not happen, but it's kind of transition when you have all those other events, but now you have the extracurriculars. Now you have the players' party. You have the meet and greet. Now you have the fly bar that we do, or we have like when we try to stack those events because it gives more to those players who are here who may not walk away with something. It gives them an experience, and I think that's where disc golf is really excelling, is not just the competitive aspect of it, but the experience that disc golf provides when you're there at one of those big tournaments like the Music City or the Glassblown Open, and even as a spectator at like the USDGCs or the World Championships, like you have an experience. It's not just about that disc golf all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've done a good job of transitioning from that, I think, or to that rather.
And
I
was
just going to say the pros are so accessible at those events.
Sure.
You can ask the questions of the pros. They're accessible, and you can, obviously get them to sign stuff if you want to. But you can say, "Oh, I noticed you threw this disc on this hole, and how did you do that?" Or, quick tips, and
Sure.
they're really willing to help out.
And it makes for a better interaction with the fans and the pros, because we all know that we all love the pros and they're nice people and they're nice women, but they want to be focused before their round, and when they have people coming up before their rounds. Maybe that fan takes them as being not the greatest, or maybe they were being rude to me because I asked to talk to your autograph before a round, and maybe they weren't trying to be, but maybe they're just trying to stay focused. And so that those side
I would think
events.
before a round would be a bad time.
Sure. So if you're new to disc golf, don't do that. I think there's probably all of us out there that have done it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But what those side events do is they give you an opportunity to approach that pro in the correct environment, the correct time, and I think that's good.
I just want to acknowledge what's going on over here, because it's true to our nature. It's pretty ghetto. We've got this microphone that
It only happened once, okay?
Marcus and Zach are failing
We're gonna pick
to
up the
use
mic
this
every
mic.
time, okay?
Yeah, and
Jay,
actually
it only
speaking
happened
to
once, all right? And yes, me and Mr. Hoy over here,
What's up?
we're sharing a mic. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is also a first for the podcast, having 5 people in-house.
For anybody that's watching that's wondering why that's happening, that's because we only have 4 inputs on our interface. And we've got 5 of us, which
No.
is awesome. I love hanging out with these guys, and we wanted to have Steve here with us. So, but that's why that's going on. And where we just kind of got sort of sidetracked, I was wrapping up
Thank
what I
you,
wanted
Will.
to say.
I'm sorry, Will. I didn't mean to take off.
No, it's
on
all
you.
good. But what I was trying to get to was when we kind of veer away from the sentimentality of certain parts of our process in the interest of growth and evolution, a little part of us mourns a sense of something that was lost. And so when you guys were making that gradual kind of step away from the overall format, was there any kind? Was there an atmosphere of like people that were there from the beginning that were kind of mourned that loss or lamented the loss of, where you started really entertaining the conversation, where you guys freestyle and and DDC and all this other stuff is just not bringing as much interest anymore?
Probably only freestyle. I mean, I would think all the other events were just fun things to do.
Yeah.
But freestylers definitely, they have their own thing, and disc golf has its own thing. So
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't freestyle still kind of legitimate doing competitions and stuff still nowadays?
They do have freestyle competitions.
I was wondering that. I saw you. I was Juliana
Corver.
There you go. I've seen her on Instagram still doing the freestyle stuff. So
Well, and that's the thing is you can tell like certain people from that time period or not later that came up when the overall events were still a big thing. You haven't seen much of Juliana in disc golf competition in the last several years, but you do see her posting content of her still doing freestyle.
Okay.
And it's that's one of those things. It's like Steve, you and I were kind of chatting before we went on the air. It's one of those things where it's important to talk about this stuff and document it in a way like with a podcast or something.
Right.
So because I guarantee you 10, 15 years from now, the kids that are doing disc golf podcasts and running clubs and running tournaments and stuff, they're not going to have any idea what double disc court was or that the first disc golf tournaments weren't just disc golf tournaments. Yeah. So
sure. It's funny because you talk about the younger guys and the European guys who are a little bit younger than the mainstay pros. Those guys have really picked up freestyle. And I was at USDGC in 2014, so that's been 6 years ago now. But Peja and Nabo, they were in the parking lot of our hotel freestyling for 2 hours straight, like a big group of them. And so they seemed to have picked it up, which I thought was really cool. And then Climo was out there showing them how it was really done, but. We lose. Well, what happened? You look concerned.
No, I just thought
Shall I swallow the mic?
I thought I was hearing a speaker monitor somewhere, but it's just
We're being hacked.
I'm hearing headphone and your voice at the same
I had
time.
a question for you, Steve. Was after starting to do those tournaments, did you see that brought out more rec players to Seven Oaks? Because Seven Oaks is a hangout. There's always going to be somebody there playing. I know other courses, Cedar Hill's not exactly like that. I mean, people want to play there.
Oh, it's
but
a hangout.
Seven Oaks is, different reasons. Seven Oaks hangout, after doing tournaments there, when did it kind of become like a crew? Just, there's somebody, one of them always there. One of you guys, when
did
every
Seven
day
Oaks become
there's
Seven Oaks?
Yeah, exactly.
The reason I show up every day is that if I want to pick up a round with somebody, I'm liable to do it. If I go to any other course, there's not going to be anybody there.
No, it won't.
I mean, I could play alone, but I don't want to do that. But as to why Seven Oaks did that, I mean, it was really the first.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was because has it been that way for a while, or I know the 2001
Always.
tournament, or just somehow something about Seven Oaks and just the area. It's just, and I know we have the store now, but I mean I'm sure it was like that way before that. But it just seemed like Seven Oaks was a different place than the other courses.
Right. It always has been, and I don't know exactly why. Yeah. Other than just that's where people around here head. Now you head out elsewhere and. I'm sure the Murfreesboro crowd goes to.
Yeah.
Which one did they go to? Was it Barfield? Was it Sharp Springs?
All right.
I would go
half
to
and half.
Sharp Springs.
Yeah, I'd go to Sharp Springs too. I mean,
now with Cane Ridge,
honestly,
has got a crew that's out there a lot.
I'm pretty happy. I'm very happy that Barfield has those accessible disc golf style course itself, but I don't go out there much, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, it's a long way.
It's a trek from Nashville. I mean, it's the outer banks of the opposite side of Murfreesboro for us. But, dude, when I first started playing disc golf, I had no idea Seven Oaks or Cedar Hill even existed. I lived in Bellevue. I would drive to Murfreesboro. I met my buddies out there because they were up at school there at the time.
Yeah.
But I would drove up there. That's where I started playing disc golf, was Barfield. Like, I didn't realize there was other courses around.
That's what we would do with Cedars of Lebanon. I mean, literally, we would go out on a Saturday, play 3 rounds, come home, go out the next day, play 3 more rounds.
I remember those
That
days.
was it.
When you had the fever and you were out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, when did you embrace the change of the disc and on going to a beveled edge, or did you try to like fight it off? Because I heard that there was some.
I wrote a little article for Ken's one of the state tournament programs that I raged against the beveled disc. It's not the same, but.
Can we try to Google a copy?
We need to hear more about this. Sorry, that's not enough. We got to hear more about this.
What was your biggest issue with it when it first came out?
I'm really not sure at this point, but
just didn't like the change. It felt weird.
It wasn't a frisbee anymore.
Exactly.
I got
you. It was not a frisbee, and the world class was still a frisbee, and right up to the point that the arrow came out. Well, the eagle. All the discs were that similar deep dish.
Yeah.
And they would have a lot of glide, really. And then the arrow came out, and it was just like.
And you're like, well, that disc is not right.
And I looked at that thing, and I thought, God, that's going to kill somebody. So.
Yeah.
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 And look at it now. Those things will kill somebody, but
I wonder that if there's ever actually been somebody, unfortunately, that might have lost their life to getting hit by a disc.
I've never heard of it, but I'm sure that people have gotten badly hurt. In fact, I've seen people badly hurt.
I've seen some people with some busted up faces and stuff like that, but I haven't heard of any.
I can think of a couple good examples. There was a lady in Los Angeles. I forget what course it was, but it was one of the courses in L.A., and even though there were signs up that said, beware of flying discs, you're walking onto a disc golf course, this lady walked her dogs out into the middle of a fairway and got smashed in the face with a high-speed drive and had to have like 7 reconstructive surgeries, lost eyesight in one of her eyes, and still is just mangled looking.
Wow.
And that caused that course to be pulled out of the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it was posted. I mean... And that's the thing.
It's a tightrope that disc golfers walk when it comes to those parks like that.
Situation. I mean, come on, think about you got like a disc that's like half of an inch in width. When you think about just how thin it can be, but then all of a sudden you're throwing it out of your hand and it's headed towards somebody. Like, how random is that? We think that it can't happen. It can happen. We just all wish and hope that it never happens.
Well, when you say how random is it, I mean even at Seven Oaks where it's pretty obvious that when you pull down the bottom of there that there's something there that if you've never been there before, there's something going on. There's people there all the time, but yet you still have the families who use that course as a walking trail.
Oh yeah,
and they don't know, and it's one of the most obvious places you can play disc golf. I mean, there's nothing else going on there. So when you say that you still have those freak incidents when they come out there, or the guys who do the run golf where they got 2 discs and they run and throw those discs. Well, they're putting themselves in harm's way all the time because they're just trying to get to the course, trying to get to their disc, running through people's groups, playing through. I mean, I've seen a couple of those guys get hit. Mm-hmm. And at Seven Oaks, you can hit some people from some other holes if you're beginning, and so those freak incidences occur everywhere, I think, probably, especially on courses that are pretty established.
Yeah, I was just thinking of turning over one on
18, 6,
hitting 10 or...
Yeah.
I've seen people get hit. Logan Bowers one time literally was behind our group during a bag tag or tournament or something, and he was teeing off on 2. We were playing too long, and I was down. Our group was down the bottom of the hill, and he didn't have a clue. His disc literally landed in my grip 6, hit into my bag and bounced out, and I literally was like, "What was that?"
Man, I remember It was one of the first tournaments that I ever played. It might have been the first tournament I ever played. I think it was definitely at Cedar Hill. It was a benefit for, I think, Nashville Pity.
Oh, okay.
And I think David Arlo ran it. And I remember there was a kid in my group that was from Corinth, Mississippi. Never played disc golf in Nashville before, never played Cedar Hill before. And we're on hole 1, and he goes to throw his second shot. And it was like it came out of his hand, and I made the realization that it was headed directly towards his tee pad. And by the time I was trying to formulate a thought that could be turned into a word of warning, I hear Rodney Goad yell, "Oh, my back!" And I'm like, in my mind immediately, I'm like, of all people, this poor kid just drilled Rodney Goad in the back with a driver.
Just leave.
Rodney came flying out of the woods, ready to fight this poor kid. I went running down, going, no, dude. He just never played here before. He didn't know you were over there. He's like, you didn't holler out or nothing. This is disc golf. You always holler out. And I'm like, no, man, I'm sorry. This is on me. I failed to yell, and God, I felt so mortified for that kid. Like, you could have hit anybody out here, and it would have been.
But you hit Rodney.
But it had to be Rodney.
That's not a good person.
And you could hear him across the course the rest of the round. Just like that ruined his entire day, and he was not ashamed to let you know what happened.
I'm sorry, is Rodney loud?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Very inconspicuous. Yeah. You can hardly tell he's there. But yeah, so I guess my question, Steve, is like, you know, when that kind of change as disc technology changed, and you know, you went from object golf to baskets, and then the baskets were evolving, and obviously the people that have been around to see the very beginning of it, you're used to something different, and everybody's resistant to change. It's human nature. It's
sure,
you know, it's unfamiliar. So how much, you know, and obviously you're concerned about safety, but also it had to have changed the way you had to think about throwing it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And so you had to kind of reinvent your game.
That was probably part of my negativity toward this.
Yeah.
Well, it's understandable. I mean, who wants to spend years developing a skill of throwing a certain disc a certain way and then have to change because the disc is now completely different?
Right. Yeah.
That's
and
tough.
You know, you see it with newbies that come out and think it's a frisbee they're throwing, and it's going left. Why is it always going left?
Yeah.
Or the ones who like, this isn't working. This always goes left. I gotta get a different one. So they spend who knows how much money just cycling discs through the bag, and
they
you're
all
like,
do
bro,
that.
quit buying a new disc. Just use like 5, and that's it. And just get used to them. And
Roll putter.
Going
That's
to
what
that.
I tell them.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I think that when you first hear that as a beginner disc golfer, you're like, I'm not using a putter. What is this guy talking about? But as you play disc golf and you get into it, you start to be the same way. Like, yeah, don't touch one of those high-speed drivers, man. Just throw your putter.
Yeah.
But going to your point with the change in disc, and I may have mostly already lost this already, which I did. So just continue on. I had it for a second, and then it just...
So now the
Classic
interesting J
Yeah,
moment,
sure, yeah.
Skinner moment. So the thing that I always notice now is because I often lament that I didn't get into disc golf earlier because my mom's old man, when I was a young kid, had me throwing frisbees while I was knee-high to a G.I. Joe. And then it was like, you know, I threw discus in high school, played ultimate in college, and then just didn't find disc golf until years and years later.
Right.
But, you know, people, like, I'll pull out a lid, a frisbee, like an aviator or whatever, and I'll flick it and make it go straight for a little while. And people that are around playing disc golf now are like, all right, Brody. And I'm like, I mean, it's a different thing. You gotta know to drop
it's definitely
the wing.
a different thing.
If you're going to put a lot of torque on a flick, you got to drop the wing real low to the ground. But you look at videos from like the late 80s, early 90s World Championships, and you see guys like Stork and other people throwing those lids for what looks to be a country mile. I mean, it was early like style media coverage, but it's like you see that weaving through trees and going over a fairway down to a green, and it's definitely golf.
Oh,
I mean, obviously, it was a much shorter range for the targets.
Well, think about this: like the sport and the disc.
But people can't throw those frisbees.
Oh
now.
no! Like I remember the first time I tried to sidearm a lid, and for those of you who don't know, that's a frisbee,
like a big frisbee.
A big frisbee. Yeah. I remember the first time I ever tried to do that.
The thing we can't say because it's trademarked.
Yeah, Q-tip. But I remember for the first time I ever tried to throw one of those.
Kleenex?
I believe it was a roller, a cut roller at best. When you throw those things, if you're not used to them.
Yeah. Did you say you need a Kleenex, Steve?
I think
it's also a trademark.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were asking for a Kleenex. Yeah. I was like,
Kleenex.
Somebody get this man a tissue.
It's a cotton swab. So
right now.
So, I guess what I'm interested to know.
What I was going to say about the evolution.
Oh, it's back.
It's back.
Hey, you got it?
Talking about the evolution of the sport and the disc changing.
The evolution of Jay's thought.
Yeah, sometimes it evolves very, very slowly. Anyway, so going to that where the disc has changed, and even the type of player has changed from just somebody who's playing disc golf who's really good to the athlete that we see nowadays. Where there's training involved. The disc, if you look at it, the basket has not been redesigned. It's still on a parameter of catching a lid. So if you walked out to any course out there, in theory, minus the length of the courses nowadays, you should be able to play with a lid. I mean, all those baskets are still designed for that catch, which is kind of crazy considering everything else has changed. And I know we've had that discussion. I'm not trying to get into it, but it is one of those things that one of the last things of the sport that hasn't changed yet is the kind of the parameters of that basket. Do you think that'll ever go anywhere?
I was going to ask Steve about the basket changes.
Yeah,
look at Oaks. Like, you got the shallow dish and then the chains and then the double chain assembly. And, some are like
some of them were
really
added.
tough.
We added some of those chains.
There were singles before?
Okay.
You see the bolts at the top that tear your disc up when you hit the number plate?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's you guys. Okay, I understand.
Oh, yeah. Ken told us you guys had a tournament and then you galvanized some of the chains and then you had to break them back.
It was kind of an odd job, yeah.
When was that? 'Cause I feel like I remember that because I remember putting on, I think it's like hole 3, and thinking to myself, like, man, these chains are really, really
They were
stiff.
solid.
I thought to myself, I was like, man, I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but man, I got to putt different now because when I walk up to this basket, I can see it from a mile away. Like, those chains look different.
Yeah, and I don't know, other than just playing the hell out of them,
Yeah.
that galvanize was coming off. You pull the chains apart and there's a sharp edge. So it would tear the hell out of your disc also. So maybe not the smartest thing
The
we
disc
ever did.
shredder.
Right.
So I'm going to go to a controversial quote that you might have said, and I some of us have overheard it, and people have heard it throughout the years, but Ken Folger gets a lot of credit for running some of the bigger disc golf events around here. And there's always a quote that I hear that he wasn't the only person. So I'm taking it that you had your hand in some of these big tournaments.
Somebody brought that up to me. Was it Will?
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it earlier. I was basically saying that Ken was running. They were running an event, and a guy that apparently was a pretty noteworthy player from California came up and asked Ken at one point, "How do you do all this?" And Steve said, "Well, he doesn't do it all by himself."
Yeah, but I mean, still, his job was, enormous, and nobody else wanted it, which is why he was doing it. But there were always 20 of us, roughly, that would run the state tournament because you had to have that many people just do it.
Oh,
just to keep people going. But how he made it through as many years as he did is beyond me. So,
well, I can definitely say that it's not a one-man show.
No.
Well, the other thing is that the Tennessee State, all these events, the money gets split up, and it's kind of diminishes to the point where people say, well, where did all the money go? Yeah. So there was this, constant rumor going around that the club or Ken himself was taking money. Mm-hmm. And, that was never the case. We were either
Clearly
throwing money at it
Yeah.
or breaking even. But, I mean, you got to pay for stuff, out of the interview. You all know that. Yeah. So sponsorship was never our biggest positive.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to do it. You go and you ask for money, and so I gave up on it real early. But I mean, that is the difference now, is that you guys are busting your butts to get sponsorship, and that's the only way to run a tournament.
Without going broke.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there have been years where, like, sponsorships are not coming in like they should, and you're sitting there looking at it, you're like, oh gosh,
here we go.
This is not going to be a good at the end of this. And then somehow, some way, they come through at the end. And then this year, when we actually talked about that, we were kind of like question marks, light bulbs, trying to do everything we could to come up with something. Because it was like, if we got to run these events, like, where are we going to pull some of this extra that we need? And we got a few tricks up our sleeve, and luckily COVID has kind of worked itself out where we didn't have to, like, be stressing. But that aspect of it nowadays is massive. And you can tell the events are the ones like the Ledgestone. The ones who have that support are the ones that are staples and continue to succeed year after year. And we've been fortunate here in Music City to be able to have that as well. I can't imagine trying to do something like that on a scale that y'all did it without it.
Yeah.
And, of course, we all know that rumor, that if that rumor gets going during a tournament, boy, that can be a crushing, whether or not it's true or not. That can really hurt.
It was constant, though. It was always, I would hear it from somebody, some person or another, and, I know for a fact that, this is the way the money went. And plus, I trust Ken, so.
Sure.
Well, and to me, anytime I hear those kinds of rumors or accusations, my mind immediately goes to that place of, well, that's just absurd.
Well, and them not knowing.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, because when you're in this circle of people, those of us that actually step up and run events and try to administrate and promote stuff to make things better for the players in our area,
sure,
we know each other, we communicate with each other, we know that we share the same heart, and this is something I've talked about with every TD we've ever had on the show, is it's a common philosophy. You're giving of yourself to make something awesome for other people. And I think that's an instinct that we all share. So when we hear those kind of accusations flying around about somebody else that's in our circle, that to us is just, how dare you? It's offensive to even think about it. But unfortunately, and I don't know if this was the case, maybe you can get into that a little bit back then, but like with us now, the unfortunate part is that from time to time, it turns out that people are doing that very thing.
Right.
And
making money off of
misappropriating funds from the club account or from tournament funds. I mean, you hear that stuff.
I'd rather not get into that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but I mean, it's been part of it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anytime people have a chance to make money somehow, whether it's, illegitimate or not, to me, running a tournament and making money for the club is kind of odd.
Yeah.
But, you should at least try to break even where the pros at least get their money back.
When we run a tournament, and I know that the phrasing very much is from us that, we're running these events to raise this money for the club. But when we say we're raising this money for the club, basically we build ourselves up to a certain funding level by MCO. And then once MCO is over, all that money that we've got from the entire year gets put back into the courses.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So whether that's us buying baskets for a course, or like this year we're talking about getting new signage for 3 or 4 courses.
Sure.
So every year, when we say we're making money for the club, that's what we're making money for.
Sure. Yeah, and as long as you're saying it up front, it's like a fundraiser. I mean, if everybody knows it, then that's fine.
Sure. Yeah, and that's another key, is that, you have to be transparent from the outset. And because there's 2 things at play here. One, people are very concerned about their money and how it's being used, especially if they're giving of it freely to support something that you're doing. You know what I mean? They're only going to be in to support that so long as they can feel confident about your use and your stewardship of their money.
Sure.
So that's a legitimate concern. But then, now in this day and age, because you've got thousands of tournaments across the world and you've got thousands of people running tournaments, and there's no system of accountability. And I've heard this brought up before, is having like a TD rating system similar to a player rating system, where through feedback from players you could rate a TD or a tournament experience. Sure. Like, these are the things a tournament director did well, these are the things they did poorly. And I think that would be, some form of that would be great just for tournament directors to be able to look at it like, this is where I've fallen short, this is where I'm succeeding and need to double up. I think that'd be great. But it also, I think people deserve to know what they're getting themselves into. Sure. And the reason that our events have become so successful over the last 4 or 5 years is because people have become, we've become known for quality. We've become known for good experiences.
And that quality, again, helps the club and the amateur player, because they see our events and they have a certain expectation. And then when that expectation is met with players packs or payout or whatever, that when they're here spending that money or that extra money, that's where the real money comes for the club as far as that goes, and having that to be able to build it, and then having the notoriety as you're talking about with us being a smoother ran tournaments and a club that does those things pretty smoothly, I'd like to say. That builds us to a point where Dynamic Disc is willing to give us more, which in return is more for the club. And even though you don't see it necessarily right there as a dollar to the club, you see it on the back end where the side games where we have these prizes to give to you guys. Without Dynamic Disc and without us having a little bit of notoriety and them having some faith in us, we wouldn't have that for the club.
Yeah.
And so it kind of works in multiple different ways at that level.
It's also nice to be at the point where the sport is advanced enough that you have sponsors that know that they are doing this in their own interest.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That they are sponsoring knowing that it's going to come back to them.
Yeah, it's reciprocal.
That was not the case back then.
Well, on either side, because one, there wasn't money. The people that were doing any kind of sponsorship in disc golf back in the early 80s, it was very, very limited. I mean, Stokely talks about it a lot. It was like he was one of the first people to get a sponsorship, and they were just giving him a bunch of stuff he could sell.
Right.
And he was able to work out an arrangement with tournament directors where he could build that merchandise into the event and be able to support himself on the road. But that was all the people with the boots on the ground had to build that. They had to make that situation happen. That now you're looking at Paul Macbeth signing $1 million contract.
Yeah. But you still got the guys in the RVs still doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. Selling a disc.
Except now they're franchisees. You know what I mean? Jay Ray driving the DDRV, that's basically a store.
That's his business.
He owns and operates that franchise.
Sure.
But those are all the many ways that it has evolved from that initial point. And, when we talk about now, people are confident in our use of their money, but we have things like a website. We can post financial statements. We can have a podcast or a live video on Facebook where we have a board meeting and we talk openly about this is what we brought in from this is where it went. And we can share that information very, very transparently and interactively with our membership.
And I think that's one of the things now, the PDGA, the tournament manager at the PDGA, it's a software, and I mean, you can mess up the payout, but it's very difficult because it literally has a red box you've not paid out enough.
Yeah.
You can't make some of those mistakes, and you have projected payouts on the sanctioned events now. You can click on even before the tournament, the next person signs up, the projected payout automatically changes, and so it's a lot better for people to figure out.
Well, it's eliminated
the player pack costs and stuff.
The coin term that when I first started, you play certain tournaments and you'd be known as the AM scam, where all you're getting a disc and every bit of your money goes into pro payout, or every bit goes. I mean, let's not say that it never existed. It's just now going away. Because it did exist.
Well, it's one of those things that tournament directors now have had to get so much more on their game.
Absolutely.
And because, where I was going was back when you were running these events, Steve, you guys didn't have ease of access to stuff like social media and a website.
What's that?
And apps and all this stuff with these formulas built in that did all this work and these calculations for you. Any kind of transparency that you offered your base came, or like you had to
Write it down.
create it. You had to build it.
Well, we had a newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah, now nobody reads newsletters and they complain if you make one.
What was it that we went to? We went to some event, and I forget which one it was, but they had it written down on a whiteboard so you could see it right there.
Chains on the Links. Kevin Turner does that. Yeah.
Brilliant.
The
Like, here it is.
Dr. Hoy is kind of on that, in that same school of thought. Is your approach has always been like, that was one of the things that amazed me about Dr. Hoy was 2018 MCO. And I've said this before, we get a volunteer at something and it's like, hey, where can I go? What can I do? And they have no idea how they can help. They just
Want to
offering
help.
to help.
Yeah.
This guy shows up. He's like, I want to run tee times for A pool. And we're like, oh, well, okay.
Can you do that? Can you handle that?
Well, we figured we were going to have to give him a spreadsheet. We were going to have to give him a table and all this
Yeah.
stuff. We showed up.
And
He
he
was
was ready.
already there with a tent, a table, a big digital clock on it, his own spreadsheets. He had everything already set up. And, that's...
He did.
I'm ready.
So,
Yelling at Zach Melton to please come over to the teeing area and start.
You showed up at Cedar Hill, and me and Cooper like, who is this, and what is he doing? And then here comes Will to explain it to us. But at first, we're like, this guy's got to move.
I remember-
He's on hole 10.
you guys looked at me like, what's going on with this guy? And I was like, well, I mean, I was going to give him all this stuff, but he's already... I mean, I'm just...
He's going to
looks
do
like
this.
He knows what he's doing. I'm good with it. And...
It went
I
well. It went
remember.
great.
I felt like
Yeah.
you guys were questioning
I'm a
my
details guy.
confidence.
We just weren't sure because it was like one of those things where we showed up to TD and we already know the pros are at our course first day.
Well,
so
to
we're
be
like,
clear, I had no idea
Yeah.
what he was going to do. I was just going with my gut. I was like, I
so
don't know.
we're
He
like-
seems like he knows what he's doing. I'm going to let him do it.
we're like on point. We got everything down. We're to a T. We got everything that we need to do. And then there's a guy with a blue tent sitting on hole 10, and we're like,
Yeah.
or 17, 16.
We've been
and we're
scooped.
like, what is going on here? And then finally, with some explanation that we understood, and it's been history ever since. Dr. Hoy.
Yeah.
I'm a details guy.
We know. We know. I know.
Usually to a fault.
Yeah. But it's great.
What we call a fault, or perhaps maybe a character defect.
wow. Wow. I just felt some heat.
No. He knows. I'm kidding.
I mean,
but
usually
this
that's
is
where
going back to
insulted
Cedar
the
Hill
man's
character.
Usually that's where my therapist goes, but
Yeah.
Oh, Jay
Speaking
wants
of
to get
insulting
outside.
character, when we had Ken on the show, Steve, he told a lot of Steve Hardie stories. Give us your favorite Ken Folger story.
Oh.
Oh, you have to let me think about that one.
Okay.
Ken.
Gather your thoughts.
I'll give you my favorite Ken
Folger's
story.
most embarrassing moment on the MCDG podcast.
And I'm going to give you my favorite story with Steve because it was the highlight of my disc golf career. One of.
Oh, wow. Well,
Please.
All right. So I don't know if you remember this.
Still thinking.
And for the record, because Dave Borders, I believe, was running it that day, so it's probably written down. But I have won a Sunday singles one time at Seven Oaks in the Open Division. And I happen to be carded up with Steve and Rodney Goad and Z-Man.
yeah.
And hole 12, everybody knows
Big
the
Z or Little Z?
big. I don't know Big and Little Z. I know.
are you talking about Robert
Zimmerman.
Zavala?
Zimmerman? No.
Zimmerman.
Zimmerman. Yeah. So hole 12. Been playing this course for years. Seven Oaks. Hole 12 is one that everybody wants in the short. And I step up and I skip ace it with Steve and Rodney. Everybody on my car got their signatures, dude. Highlight because I had hit aces before, but never with guys like this. And then that ace was what allowed me to beat Rodney by 1 stroke and Steve I think by 2, and got my first Sunday singles victory. And I remember leaving there just glowing because I had done something I had never done before, and it was just nice to have Steve Hardie's signature on that ace disc and Rodney Goad and Zimmerman. And I love Z, and he knows that, so it was just as much of an honor to have his signature too. But when you got two legends such as yourselves, that was a pretty big highlight.
And we did a little celebrating on bench at 13.
Yeah, we did. We won't
Once,
talk about what.
once in a blue moon for me.
Yeah.
I
Family show.
do recall that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you remember because it was huge to me. So
Nice.
I'm still searching my brain for the Ken Folger moment.
all right, so give me some of your memories of Steve Hardie. Y'all's first or best.
Well, I just remember coming in the parking lot, the guy in a bucket hat and a canvas bag, and like, who is this guy?
Picking up
And
garbage.
I mean, I don't. Nobody knew me from the disc golf scene in Nashville, and then I started watching you play, and I was like, man, this guy's always here, and he's always beating people. And
Yes, he is.
then I was like, what's he got in the canvas bag? How
Yeah.
like where? Yeah, I guess tell us a little bit about the bag. Like the
It's an
Where'd
LL
that come
Bean.
from?
okay.
You
How
know,
long
they're-
have you had that
They're
thing?
famous for two things, I think. They're,
Okay.
they're tote bags and they're boots. They're
Okay.
Well, now they do.
Yeah.
They got like parkas.
Who is
oh,
this?
they got everything, but that's what they
But yeah.
made their
and their
reputation
tote
on.
bags.
Those
Who
two
is it?
things.
Yeah.
The boat,
LL
the
Bean.
boat and
LL
tote.
Bean,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the boat and tote.
And the
if you're
hat.
Looking.
The bucket hat.
I think
man.
that was
the bucket hat. The
New
canvas.
Keeping the sun out of
New
his
York
eyes.
Hat Company or something online. So
I'm just trying to figure out the Steve Hardie look. Like
It's all about
Yeah.
keeping that
the
sun
hat,
off.
the canvas bag.
most of it is because I don't like to shop. So
Function over
pretty
form.
much
Understood.
the
Understood
same
that.
year to year,
You find something that works.
year
and-
upon year upon year.
yeah.
But those are kind of my trademarks. And
You don't have to lean
Yeah,
over
yeah,
all
yeah,
uncomfortable. You
that's-
can pick that
that's-
up and hold it.
I am curious though. Have you ever actually had
I never had a bag.
a disc golf bag?
Never in my life.
What?
That's awesome.
I know that I had seen Steve around for quite a
Give me my
while
bag I just bought.
before I ever was introduced to him or got to know him. And I remember the first time I saw him with his bucket hat and his tote bag full of discs, I was like, that guy will learn you some things.
Yeah.
And of course, that sentiment was backed up by the community. Everybody in Nashville that plays disc golf has learned something from Steve Hardie,
Or
I'm
at
pretty
least
sure.
received a beat down.
Yeah, or at least been getting spanked upon. What are, I mean, do you have anything else in your life that's like a driving passion, a secret talent, secret hobby that most people wouldn't know about?
No. This is my life.
Always been disc
Okay.
golf.
I mean, I enjoyed my work for a while.
What did you do?
I was a programmer.
Oh, awesome. In the early beginnings, I would imagine.
DOS.
I saw you big
Yeah.
into
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Black screen,
Yeah,
waiting for you to push the button.
Now, what were you? Did you just program computers themselves, or just the actual programs that ran them? Or
Mhm.
okay,
it was pretty much standard programming.
It's not changed. They just add a bunch of letters.
Yeah, I mean, it really is
I don't understand.
more or
any
less
of
the
it.
same.
Yeah.
The latest software that I worked on was called Classic ASP, which
I'm
Doesn't
not
seem-
looking at like I looked at these guys. I'm like,
Maybe I was big into like computer like programming when it was coming up. So maybe I got like 1,800.
well, one of the
programming books.
extensions on files was what did I just say?
one of the extensions on files.
ASP.
ASP.
And it stands for Active Server Pages. And
Okay.
it was one of the few things that Microsoft ever did that was actually an innovation.
Oh
The-
wow.
The other one that I know of was online books.
Yeah.
Really?
They never really got into at all. They never made any money as far as I know. But ASP, the secret was that up until then, all you had was static pages. So you put it out there and people hit it, and it's the same for everybody.
Okay.
And with Classic ASP, it could take information that they put in and build a custom page just for them. So anytime that you're interacting with a page, that was Classic ASP.
This man started cookies. Is this what he's telling me?
Yeah.
This is what he's telling me. He
John's
started cookies.
No.
Sounds like they owe you some money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But it was, it's fun programming, and I think my daughter is getting into it. So
Now, do you still tinker at all with any of that?
no, I don't even have a computer,
Wow.
much
Yeah,
less
Steve
a
Hardie.
smartphone.
We
so.
talked about this also
Yes.
before the podcast.
Cannot use disc golf scene if you own a flip phone.
Well, you can do it if you have a computer.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
Steve
the
Hardie's-
libraries are closed, so I can't use their computers.
Yeah.
What am I to do?
What are you to do?
You just call us up.
Trust in devoted friends that will make sure you're signed up for all the disc golf tournaments.
Absolutely. What is the reasoning behind that? Just don't have the time for it, or just don't care for it anymore?
There was, before I retired, I thought about all the things that I was going to do on my computer when I got home, which I'd never had. I'd never had a home computer. It's always been at work. So anytime I did any kind of work, it was at work. Mm-hmm. And just haven't done it. It's been almost 6 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, sorry.
Congratulations on the retirement. I mean, I know it was 6 years ago, but
I mean, ring the freedom of living off the grid as long as you possibly
Sure.
can, man.
Well,
because
that's part of it. Smartphone more than a computer, but there's so much that I really do want to do, and stuff that I brought home from work, just from tinkering with over the years, and there it sits.
well, you got disc golf to go to every day. I mean,
That's
we
part
got
of it.
plenty of characters hanging out at Seven Oaks for entertainment purposes.
and it's way cheaper than retiring and hitting the links,
Right.
for sure.
And it's more fun. It's more fun to watch a disc than a golf ball.
Agreed, 100%. 100% agree with you on that. Is it? How often would you say, or how many rounds are you getting in a week now that you're retired? More or less?
Probably one a day.
I would dream of that.
yeah,
But,
I get one a month.
right.
Speaking of, I'm not giving locations, I'm not giving names because I'm not going to do that to somebody. But super secret private course that we got to play, like just seeing those even pop up nowadays, where you've got guys who are just putting stuff in their backyard, and like, hey, this day at 4:30 we're going to do this. We're going to try to make it a weekly thing, invite only type of deal.
Right.
And I remember getting my first invite to a certain person's house out in White Bluff. And that being a big deal for me. I mean, you got to prove yourself to be able to get some of those invites, and so it's nice to see that the sport has gone that way too. But it's nice to see where like you're still getting around a day, whereas like the younger cats are still once a month, once a week if we're lucky.
Well,
I was curious, Steve, if you played a lot of courses outside of Tennessee, or
back in the day, but not now.
okay,
Hardly ever.
okay.
I'm curious about the course that used to be in Pegram that supposedly the three inners are designed roughly year round. Is that correct? At Seven Oaks? Or what are the inspiration?
Stonehenge?
Or maybe just one hole? It was a course in
Stonehenge.
Pegram that used to be around, and it's not anymore, but a hole's designed after something like that?
Stonehenge
It's
in
not really
Pegram,
Pegram, but
and they modeled Inner One.
Okay.
They put in
Yin
like
Yang?
a loose format kind of tribute.
So what happened with that place out there in Pegram?
I'll let somebody else talk about that.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry.
They moved on. So
I think Ken talked a little bit about it on the episode that he was on. There was a divorce involved, and property was split a certain way.
the funny thing was that it was part of the AM Worlds in 2001, and players got to vote on their favorite course, and guess what?
It was their favorite. A great course.
A
then,
private
apparently.
course. So
Now, that's always been a thing, right? Private courses? Like backyard courses that you guys would gather and go play?
Yeah. And private courses also, there was a money-making venture by the airport. Free flight.
Free flight. Yep. That was, yep.
Whoa. What is this?
It was a pay-to-play, kind of over by where Seven Oaks is.
Really?
Free flight. Yeah, but it was one of the first pay-to-play courses in existence.
Around here, for sure.
Yeah. Because I think the only other noteworthy course that comes to mind that kind of pioneered that pay-to-play thing was Morley Field in San Diego, because they kind of worked it out where they got some investment from the Parks Department by creating a way for the parks to earn some money from the disc golf course.
Now, when you say like earning that money, is that like where you like roll into a state park that's got a disc golf course and you put the $5 or $2 in the bucket for the park use, or is it specifically for disc golf or being able to use everything?
I bet it varies.
Okay.
We've never had that here. None of the parks have ever done it, as far as I know.
And then I know that talking to Montgomery Bell, one of their biggest issues is they want anything they put in there, they want to be able to make something off of. And it's not anything against them. It's just that park's got a hotel, that park's got a golf course, that park's got so many things that already make money for it. If they're putting in disc golf, they want to make money off of it. And my first suggestion was, hey, put a lot box up, $2 to use for the day or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Sure.
So anyway, so what does this go back to that what we were talking about with the pay to play? When did
How
what
long was
happened?
Free Flight around? Because that was
Before
around the
me.
time of Centennial Park's course, wasn't it?
Yeah. And maybe 4 years.
Was the pay to
Didn't
play
last long.
debate as heated then as it is now, or more so?
I mean, I've never seen it actually work. What's the place up north of Bowling Green? Holler in the Hills.
Oh,
Holler in the Hills.
Yep.
That's the only place I know of right now, or the closest place.
Well, Bud Hill
I was
in
going to say,
Memphis.
Nashville seems to be doing okay.
Well, yeah, you got to get tee times. I mean, that's a golf course style.
But,
Oh,
disc
right,
golf.
right.
but you got to pay to play it, and it's
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you
There you
can
go.
consider it on
Well,
the
I
same
think the
level,
two differing schools of thought are, one, is it bad for disc golf because it is creating or proliferating a paywall
Sure.
to be able to access the sport, which one of the benefits of the sport has always been the ease of access. You can get
Absolutely.
a set of discs for real cheap and go out and play anywhere you want.
Sure.
So is it bad for the sport in that way, or is it good for the sport in that, because look at it right now, and this is something I said I was going to do this episode, and I haven't done yet, but we had work days this past weekend. One at Naval Hill and one at Cane Ridge. And I was at both of them, and I know exactly who was there for both of them. And it was the same crowd of people that is always at work days. And I will leave it at this. I will just say that you would not be able to tell that we got 300 people in our club by the number of people that show up when it's time to give some love back to the course.
Right. I agree.
And that's really unfortunate because we're always trying to create a situation where another thing we were talking about before we went on the air was, creating a sense of ownership in what's being built by the people that are a part of it.
Right.
And we're always trying to teach the course maintenance, course upkeep, love kind of thing as a part of the etiquette of our community. But, I mean, what's really unfortunate about it is when you have the same 10 to 20 people that are always doing the work, those people grow to have animosity towards the people that aren't. And there becomes separation there. And that creates disruption in what we're trying to grow and what we're trying to build. And it's really hard to get only 10 people to show up to do 50 things, and you're out there slaving, carrying a giant bag of trash, a weed eater, a tank of fuel, and a backpack full of extra water, and you're sweating profusely, and you're in the middle of trying to clear up the fairway on a hole, and you look up and you see some guys that are like getting impatient because they want to play through.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, a lot of that, and I'll say that at the work days this past weekend, I had some really cool experiences. At Naval Hill on Saturday, we were fixing one of the sleeves, and a guy came up and he said, "Hey, are you guys with the local club?" And I got to have a conversation with a dude that was new here from some other place and had no idea about Music City Disc Golf or wasn't following us on social media. And I got to point him in the right direction. And then same thing like at Cane Ridge on Sunday, there was a group of guys that were out there playing for their first time ever while we were out there working on Cane Ridge. And that's all awesome. And I like to rib people that go. And I mean, let's be honest too. You never see everything that a person's doing. There's a lot of people that do work at the course they play the most. On a regular basis, and maybe they play through while you're working on a different course. But man, it's disappointing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
To see just a certain handful of people, because those people get burned out. They get tired of doing the work and watching everybody trash the place and then play while they're working. It's
Well, to add to that, and a lot of people don't realize this, but I would say at least a quarter to 30% of emails that we get as a club that we all see are about Shelby. And it may not be that they're disc golfers in a sense that they're there all the time, but there's a lot of people who live in that small area who use Shelby. And they email the club constantly wanting to know, like, hey, can we change the baskets? Hey, this is not looking good. Hey, can we get some love out here? And it may not be your typical disc golfer. It may be the college kids or the air quotes hipsters that live in that area of town, but they're out there using that course and they want to see the course be revived or better. And it's kind of funny, like, where you get those guys who email us constantly wanting certain things done, and like you said, well, like, you only have a certain amount of manpower, and that course to every normal run everyday disc golfer, you're not out there very often typically.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's still people out there who love the course and want to use it, even though, they're not necessarily the typical disc golfer.
Yeah, well, and I mean, that's the other thing too, is every course, we're very fortunate here in Nashville because each course ends up being stewarded by a course captain.
Sure.
And they have a crew of locals that live close or play there more frequently than anywhere else, and that becomes the course crew. And then those people have their own thing going on, but they're also members of the club. And so when they get above their head in work, they reach out to the club, and we're able to offer manpower and resources and funds and stuff like that to organize work days and that kind of thing. And it doesn't work like that everywhere. We're very fortunate to have that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, Shelby, Naval Hill, straight up, just one of those situations where, the keys were in between hands. It was, we were in the process of finding a dedicated course captain because people just move on to different things,
Right.
Sean Groton put the course in the ground, and then he started the Nashville Disc Golf Store, and
Sure.
that's taken him away from regular course captain type responsibilities because he does so much there. And then K-Man had the keys, and he was running the Saturday Shuffle and all that stuff, but his real estate career took off, and he needed to put more time into that, and so he had to step back.
Absolutely.
And then, at that point, it's all about finding somebody that's trustworthy, that you can put the keys into their hands and know that the right thing is going to be done, and that you're going to be able to communicate with that person. And
Absolutely.
but it's, it's always the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing.
Well, I mean, like you said, that's fortunate that we can even be looking for somebody to take over that position, because there are courses out there where there's one guy who gets it in. He does all the work for 10 years, and then he, like you said, career change or something, and he can't do it anymore. Then next time you're out to that course, you got knee-high grass because Metro's used to them taking care of it, and Metro doesn't know, or not Metro necessarily at our here, but just around any other course, whoever's supposed to be governing it, they don't know. They're like, well, this guy used to do it. Now all of a sudden he doesn't. Now we've got knee-high grass. And I say that because now Dixon has taken over that responsibility, the parks out there. But for a while, after HB put it in the ground, like, it wasn't mowed. Like, you threw a disc out there, you were looking.
Which course?
Regardless. Buckner, out in Dixon. Now the club is there. But they're in a weird situation where the club has got a few members now, and it's not the biggest, but they've got members who are dedicated, and they want to do work out there and cut them, and the park won't let them. Because now that the park's taken over, they're like, no more. We're now in control of it because we had to take it over. So it can be a good thing or necessarily a bad thing, because now you don't have access to go in there and do anything different.
Right.
I feel like a lot of these are power trips that may be necessary.
I'm sorry, what?
Power trips that may be unnecessary.
Sure. I mean,
but once somebody takes it over, then they can only be the ones that decide it. It can't be like a partnership.
I've not run into that, Will. You might be able. I mean, like, anybody who's ever been a course captain, as long as I've been around Nashville, I don't think there's been a lot of power trips. There might have been some disagreements between the old and the new, and that they've come to work themselves out.
No, I'm saying between. I feel like sometimes with Metro parks, like, if they take over a certain spot, then there may be a couple holes that are not easily accessible.
Sure,
and so then it's like, whose responsibility?
I wouldn't call it power necessarily. I would call it Metro doing what they have to do to get what they're supposed to do done. And
right? No, I know they got
like, hey, sorry, disc golfers.
They got people that they have to answer to. So
and it's not just us. If it was another park that had no disc golf and it was a baseball field and they needed this space, guess what? The baseball field's going. You know what I mean? Like, it's. or are getting moved sideways or whatever it may be. Like, because
Right.
they're the government, and that's, if they need something done, they're going to do it. Plain
Steve,
and
what
simple.
was it like? I mean, because now our problem is like people now they know what disc golf is or they've heard of it before. But it's like,
Amazing.
who cares? How many people are really playing that? And it's not on mainstream. It's not on ESPN, so we don't, you know what I mean? But like back then, people didn't even know, never heard
Right.
of it before.
Right.
And you,
You didn't have stereotypes and stigma to overcome when you were trying to propose a new course because nobody even knew what you were doing or what you were talking about.
The parks would.
Yeah.
The state parks and then Metro. I mean, they knew that, well, they're putting us out there for a reason.
Yeah.
Which was to keep the bad element out. Little did they know that they're moving another bad element in. But they knew that it was a good thing for the parks.
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe more Metro than the state parks. The state parks kind of cooled off after a while. I don't think we've even had a.
Now
a
that's
while.
the tough nut to crack. These
Yeah,
days.
the state parks are hard to get into now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask your opinion on this because I know Nashville has got a particular history. The PDGA when it was initially formed, it was headquartered here in Tennessee before it moved
I
to
did not know that.
before it moved to Appling. But I, from talking to other people like Danny Lane and Steve Kearns and Ken and other people that were involved at the very beginning. When the PDGA came through and started, implementing rules and tour standards and telling you how you could and couldn't run a tournament, I know I've heard very mixed reports of how that was received and how it went. I know some people were opposed to it from the beginning. Some people were encouraging it and welcoming it, and then there were some things that happened that kind of made it blow up in those people's face. What was, in your experience, like how was it seeing the PDGA come into power?
It was great when the PDGA was the DGA. I mean, that's when Ken and I joined. Just having an organization. That was all it was.
Sure.
And as we got more into running tournaments, the PDGA wants their fee. And that was always my problem is, okay, well, what are you doing for us? And back then, they didn't do much of anything.
Yeah.
Now they've got a rating system and whatever that makes it worthwhile. But, at that point it was maybe why are you charging this? And, I was always on the sort of anti-PDGA side, just it's not worth it. I'd rather my players get their money back than to send off $10 every time to somebody that hasn't done anything. That was my read of it, and we had that discussion many times. And, the PDGA side won just because people didn't want to go to a tournament that wasn't sanctioned. Mm-hmm. Just because they knew that more people would be there.
It's kind of like a roadside motel. If it's a Best Western at a Holiday Inn Express, you kind of know what to expect. There's some kind of a standard being set. Like some
Yeah,
kind
and
of
I don't think
precedent.
it was a trustworthiness thing so much as just the fact that
The
there would be
worth.
players there.
Yeah,
That
governing.
people would show up for a sanctioned tournament and they wouldn't for another. So
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I
now
lost that argument, by the way.
I mean, you still
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's still groups of golfers out there who are not a fan of the PDGA, or
Right.
then you have Southern Nationals who still runs leagues or still runs their sanctioned events, and they have their own championships
Sure.
and everything like that. So I mean, then like look at the Disc Golf Pro Tour. They're sanctioned, but they're not sanctioned as high caliber events, even though to the players and the fans, they're high caliber events. So I think, the existence of more than one entity is not necessarily a bad thing. We just, no other sport's really seen it. Because you have the NFL, there's not anything else other than like XFL that pops up every 5 or 6 years and does what they do. But you don't
Which
see a lot
now
of
went
other
bankrupt again. XFL.
Well, I mean, what do you do when,
It was a bad year for it.
yeah.
it really
So
was.
it was a bad try the first time around. Then you have arena football. If you look at arena
Right.
football, it was another level of professional football. You weren't having the top rated pros playing it, but it was fun to watch, dude. Arena was way better than XFL to me.
yeah.
And you see it in a couple of different things. I mean, the baseball has farm leagues. You're not going to be pro, but you're still being paid to play baseball.
Yeah.
You know, so there's different aspects of it that you see. You just don't, you know, in disc golf, you see it more transparently and you see it more of as a posing factor because there's not many of them. And it's, for me, why wouldn't you be okay with the PDGA? I walked into it with the PDGA. But for guys like Steve who saw them come into something they had already had established, and I understand where they come from for sure. Like, wait a second, you're going to come in and say that we put our name on it and you want us to give you money? Because your name's on it?
Yeah.
Like, wait a second.
Yeah,
So I completely see both sides. It's just, you know, nowadays it's a little bit more accepted, I guess, maybe. But you still have those guys who are just
What about
against
touring pros? Like, did you?
Well, he
Did they
saw
used
that
to-
become a thing.
Yeah, like become a thing or come through town or come to bigger tournaments, and you saw like the same people that would come to all
yeah.
y'all's events, or
Generally, you know, Atlanta, Huntsville, Memphis,
okay,
Louisville,
Louisville, and
Yeah.
Bowling Green.
Bowling
Yeah.
Green.
nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
East
know.
Tennessee, too. So.
Yeah.
I was going to say Nashville, too. I mean, talking to our good friend and PDJ, Sean Sinclair, he come from California to play Tennessee events because they were
Yeah.
ran so well.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that was, you know, I think the PDGA too. Like Steve said, in their inception, they weren't doing a whole lot, and it's interesting because the criticism has remained the same.
Sure.
For those that don't know, I'm running for a spot on the PDGA board, so vote for me in July.
plugless or shameless plug. Plugless shame.
We're gonna end all this crap. I'm just kidding. No, I'm a big fan of the PDGA. I've always
Fruit
been
punch
an
and all
advocate
water
and a
fountains.
supporter. Yeah, but you know the criticism has remained the same. It's like what are we paying for? And you're talking about spanning a gap in time from when they really weren't doing much because they had just formed to now they're doing a lot. Most people don't have any clue what they're doing.
Sure.
I mean, you get a magazine and a newsletter once a month. Everybody knows they get it. Nobody reads either of them, and they think that that's all the PDGA does. That and ratings, and that's and then they approve what discs and baskets and equipment can be used. Maybe they don't even know that. You know, they don't know about the grants that the PDGA gives to startups. They don't know about the thousands of dollars that they gave to Johannes Dessalane in Ethiopia to expose more people in Africa to disc golf. To run the first PDGA event on the continent of Africa. They don't see that stuff unless they're really plugged in.
Sure.
Right.
And that's part of why I'm running for the board of the PDGA is because, you know, in the last 5 years, we've taken our operations totally digital. We've made everything visible. We're live streaming our board meetings now.
Sure.
And, you know, in this day and age when there's new avenues for sharing information, it's almost extraneous to a certain extent, but it's like you got to capitalize on every available opportunity because some people are using one, not using another, and you got to cover all your bases to get the information out there. But
Sure.
I mean,
I was going to say the problem of we have so many new avenues to get the information out, but then the people are like, "Oh, I didn't hear about it."
right. But it's on
Like,
7
we
Facebook
don't-
pages, Instagram,
Especially
in a
those work
podcast,
parties.
on a website.
Oh yeah, those work parties. Oh, I
I never
did
saw it posted.
Somehow those always slip through the cracks. I don't
still have the same issues. We got new technology. Still, nobody
Well,
saw
I
that
mean,
post.
As of right now, like Will said, it's an opportunity to get that information out there. In 5 to 10 years, it's not going to be an opportunity. It's going to be an obligation for us to do that.
Yeah.
Like you won't be communicated any other way. It will be, hey, here's it is. If you want to know about it, there it is. Like if you don't go look, that's your own fault.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's the way it will eventually become. I mean, everything evolves, and like listen to Steve talk from the very beginning, like where it's at now. Like, do you ever think it was going to go there? Ever think we'd be here?
No. I mean, no. Technology has just blown everything.
Gosh darn aliens! I'm just kidding. I don't want to open a can.
It's mostly good.
Dadgum lizard people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, the things that you can do now, just wouldn't have even been thought of.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, Steve. How many disc manufacturers do you think there are now?
There are now.
Yeah, like
Trivia.
I had no idea what this number
I'll do
was.
the same as I did with my aces guess. 20 to 30.
I believe
I
they're
think it's higher than that, isn't it?
85 or 90. 95.
I believe now it's up to like 97.
But
96.
now,
Yeah,
bigger
it's-
question:
it's
how many have
crazy.
you heard of?
20
I
to
don't
30.
How many are created by
answer.
the same company? I mean, how many?
That's
the
You know,
other
it's got
thing too.
5
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Well, no,
that's
you'd be
true.
surprised. No, there's more than that now.
MVP
I mean,
has one out of
MVP's
Austin and
MVP's
Nashville
out
Disc
of
Golf
Michigan.
Store.
Oh wait, what?
No, I thought MVP had a company that they're like working with or manufacturing discs through with Austin, Texas.
No, well, I don't know if they've got a company out of Austin that they're making discs for. I know that MVP came about because they were a plastics manufacturer in other areas. They were making other types of plastic stuff.
Right.
But disc golfers were involved, and then they ended up buying out the company and switching over the process to molding discs. So you've got, MVP now. Latitude 64 is pressing stuff for DD West Side and some Discmania. And
Yeah, I
others
know they
now.
collaborated on a couple of things.
But you've also got Costaplast, which is making their own discs. You've
Is
got
that how you say that? I always call it
Costaplast.
cataplast.
Cataplast?
Cataplast.
This
I'm
sounds like-
Southern, bro.
Sounds like
Catapult.
something a Tennessean would say. I don't know. It sounds Australian.
That's Arkansas
Catapult.
indeed, brother.
Yeah, but I mean, and then all the ones that were the originals, you know what I mean? Like Innova and Discraft are still
Sure.
around, but like Lightning, ABC, all that stuff.
Yeah, I was
that
gonna
used
say
to be-
the flying squirrel.
Lightning's still around.
Lightning is not. I mean,
No, I don't think so.
I think they
Flying
still exist,
squirrel?
but they haven't made anything new in a long.
I was gonna say what ABC was like when I first started was kind of out there, kind of up there, but I
But
haven't
now
heard
you've
from
got
them in years.
Yukon, you've got all these
There
different
was
ones.
there was a guy that I had a
Viking.
ABC,
Well, Viking was an older company too.
an ABC putter that had the dollar sign,
Uh-huh.
like the
I
money
remember
putter.
those. It was the
And-
what was it called? Like the Big Kahuna or something.
There
like
was a
that?
newbie at Seven Oaks the other day, and I'm like, "Here, man, start out throwing this."
Sorry,
had
but
it
you'll
on
never be able to
ABC.
replace that if you lose it.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
Hope you don't like it very much.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, don't throw it in the trees.
and you can't sell it. It's not like an old school Innova disc. You know, that's what's crazy too. On the collector side of things, what discs are worth money? Not old school old companies, old school companies that are still around,
Yeah.
which kind of says something about things, in my opinion.
Not Franklin.
Or Instep.
Yeah, Instep's not even a thing now. Now they're called like Pacific Outdoors
Yeah.
or something like
They
that.
are.
They have. I saw in Aldi. They have a disc golf basket with
Dude,
3
I was
discs.
saying they're like triangle
But
baskets.
what I'm saying, like
They're
at the grocery
plastic.
store, they have a
And mesh
disc golf
netting.
basket at Aldi with 3 discs.
Let's loosely call that disc golf, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like I've seen it, but I remember taking a picture of it and posting it. And was
I
like,
think it's
what is
actually
this?
disc golf, and there's 2 dots over the O because it is a German company.
Yep.
Disc golf.
Disc golf.
Gurf.
Disc golf.
Just gurf.
That's great.
I'm about to buy that. It's going to be a CTP at some event this year.
I mean,
You get a disc golf basket, guys. Sign up.
what do you think people are gonna think when they're looking at the board game section
Fucking
and there's like, there's a disc golf board game?
Stone Smith, you've
Oh, dude,
won
that's
a
another
disc
thing.
golf basket.
We got to find a time to have a game night and play
Oh,
birdie.
we do.
Yes.
You should join us for that, Steve.
I've got
Yeah.
I've got a prototype of the birdie disc golf board game.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Kickstarter boxes are going out to everybody.
Oh,
like
wow.
by the end of this month,
Nice.
beginning of
Awesome.
July. But Steve Dodge sent us our very own prototype early run of the game. I've got it at my house.
Sweet.
Way to go. Bless you, Steve. Bless you.
Yeah, and he's been very supportive of the podcast, and very, I think, overvaluing of our contribution to the success of Birdie. But yeah, he's definitely true to his word. He said he would hook us up, and he did. So thank you, Steve Dodge. We're getting close to pushing 2 hours here, and it flew by.
Dude,
But
this has been one of the. We got a legend in the house.
Yeah.
One of the best.
and Steve, I mean, you're known as a person who expels, or I don't know what the right word is, but like you're known for your
Gas.
pearls of wisdom. Yes, there you go.
Expel gas.
Hot air.
Hot air, not flash.
We could break this down.
Yeah, let's get some
Breaking
clarity
wind.
here.
But no, you're known as a person that is always good for a pro tip or a lesson to a beginning disc golfer or an up and comer. I can't count the number of people who have told me, who have talked about, all the different things that they've learned about disc golf from you. So like, if you were talking to a person who is just playing their first rounds and buying their first discs and trying to figure out how to really get into the game, if you were able to offer one piece of advice, and it doesn't need to be like a certain number of words. You can, if there was one little nugget of wisdom that you could impart to a new disc golfer, what would it be?
Throw the slowest disc that's going to do the job.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. Don't be throwing a driver if you're going 200 feet. Of course, my age, you almost have to. But that, and don't throw the hell out of it. Get your form right. Wade comes out to the course. He came out more before COVID, but still comes out. Throws a putter, no, a mid-range. And that's all he does. Now, he's getting his throw perfected. Now, he has trouble going to a driver.
Sure.
And you can just sort of see that in everybody that's starting out in the game. Don't try to throw it to the pin. Try to get your score down and learn how to throw the disc in the meantime, right?
Sure.
So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
There's lots of other.
There are definitely lots of others, but like in all honesty, that's where you should start. In my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's
throw a
nothing
slow
compared to
disc.
his opinion.
Don't be ashamed to throw a slow disc. You're gonna beat a lot of people that are flailing it. So
Sure. 54 even par puts you in the top 20%. People don't understand it.
Well, that's one of those pieces of advice that I offer to new players, and I'm always hoping that I'm on point when I'm sharing stuff like that. So to hear you say I feel like I'm going in the right direction. With
that was the biggest thing I learned when I first started playing the sport and playing rec, and like why am I not shooting great? Oh, I'm overdoing what I think I should be doing, because if I land at 54, 55, 56, maybe I shoot 6 up and around. But as a beginner player, that's a 60, that's 6 over par. You're sitting top 3, top 4, 5 every time. And I say that as when you start red rec, that stays pretty true up until you hit a top level advanced, bottom level pro, and then you really need to start making some birdies. But all the way up until you're confident enough to play at that level, dude, 54 is all you need. I guarantee you, if you shot a 3-round tournament, 2 rounds at 54, and maybe 1 at 60, you're gonna probably win that tournament. Intermediate, rec, novice, because that's what everybody does. They take the game and they make it too hard.
Yeah.
And so he's speaking the truth. If you want to call it the disc golf Bible, that's the truest advice you could get.
Yeah. Since we don't have the live chat tonight, I'm trying to think of any questions I can think of that the audience might want to ask Steve. And
I want to know what Steve wants to leave the audience with.
I never did think of my embarrassing Folger story.
Oh, well, I want that first before you go.
I don't think he's ever done anything embarrassing.
Sure he has.
other
Come
than
on,
the
come
T-pads at
on.
Cedar Hill.
Sorry, Ken.
If we have this interview with some young cats 25, 30 years in the future, you bring up something, I will come across the tape.
What about a story about Freddie?
The Emporia story?
Yeah.
Have you?
It's a good example.
25 years
One of
from
many.
this now.
Sorry, Zach.
I was just gonna say a story with Freddie
Ooh.
at the Oaks.
That'd be good.
Or favorite round, or just craziest
Any
round at
awesome
Oaks.
story.
Random crazy
some
story.
cool
I can
thing
talk
at
about
Oaks.
Fred, because when I retired, he was still out there and living out there, and he got some help from the church. Got to go to the VA to get some of his stuff taken care of. Got some housing. So he had a roof over his head finally. But he would still come out every chance he got. He would take a bus downtown, then back out Murfreesboro Road, and then walk to the course. And so his hacky sacks or canes. But, that was where he wanted to be. And the last time I saw him, he had lost his keys to his house. And we searched all around his bench and up in the parking lot and never found them. And I took him home and we broke into his house. The air conditioner just sort of popped out. So I slid back into the house and let him in, and that was the last time I saw him. And I didn't think it would be the last time. Yeah. But he was good people. And he had a lot of people that cared about him and took care of him. And he was a damn good golfer.
That he was.
He played less and less as time went on, but he was a good friend.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed being with him. You know, I got to spend a lot of time just sitting on the bench with him. Just sitting there taking the sounds in.
He was one of those people that was like, it was almost like the first firefly at sunset. It's like, you're not seeing tons of fireflies out there, so that first one that you think you saw out of the corner of your eye, that's the special one.
Right.
You know, and it's like here now, gone, and you have no idea where it went. But he was so many things to so many people. And, you know, so many people in our community carry on a piece of Freddie with them. And Seven Oaks, I mean, he's still there.
Right.
It's an energy, it's a vibe about Seven Oaks that partly came from Freddie. And I'm very grateful, you know, and this is one of those things, the older you get, the more comfortable you get with loss and the more used to processing it and living with it that you become. But, you know, you learn to start looking at the things that you're grateful for and not the things that you're mourning. And I'm grateful for two things in particular with Fred. I'm grateful that he got to experience Ogwood and what Ogwood has become for the Nashville disc golf community.
Sure.
He got to come out there for a few of our big weekend blowouts and be a part of that crowd and that party. And I'm also grateful that I got an opportunity to tell him, maybe not in exact words, in a poetic and philosophical way, but I did get an opportunity to tell him that he meant something to me. And it was because I think the last time that I saw him, and it was a very similar scenario, I didn't expect to see him. I didn't expect that it would be the last time I would see him. I was leaving Seven Oaks, and I saw him walking in at the end of Weaver School or whatever, and just whipped around and picked him up and drove him the rest of the way into the parking lot. And in just those few minutes, I got to tell him, you know, just to catch up with him real quick and see what was going on with him. And I knew he wasn't doing well. But just to say, because he seemed like a little bit down or frustrated or disappointed, just like in a general kind of feeling way. And I just got to tell him, I was like, well, you know, Fred, you mean a lot to a lot of people here. And I don't remember the exact words that I told him, but I did get to have that moment where I at least in some way expressed or related, you know, my gratitude for him and who he was.
I mean, I don't think I ever told him that to his face, but hopefully I didn't need to.
No, I mean, that's the thing.
I think there was
we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah. I definitely think there was a part of Freddie who understood that.
For sure.
And realized that because he had a way of making you feel like you were a part even when you were not quite, hadn't been there quite long enough to be a real part. Mm-hmm. And I say that coming from somebody who joined, you know, mid-20s, where people have been playing for years, was Freddie made you feel like you were a part of what was Seven Oaks and what is Seven Oaks to this day, even though you hadn't quite put in the time to be a part of it yet. But then when he's like, hey, Jay, and you realize, oh,
yeah, when he
remembers who I am.
Yeah.
You get that little bit of acceptance that you need to keep going.
Well, and I didn't get to know him near as well as most of the people that we're real close to did, like you and Telly and everybody that was super, super tight with him.
Sure.
I didn't have that level of a relationship with him where, you know, like someone like you or Telly, like you wouldn't have had to have told him what he meant. You know what I mean? Like you guys, you guys had that kind of connection and you spent that time invested in each other. Right. Where like I knew him pretty well, not nearly as well as a lot of those, a lot of you guys, but you know what I mean? It was. I think like the nature of my relationship with him was one where I'm glad I got that opportunity to tell him, because he may not have known that I felt that way if I hadn't. And that would be one of those things. It's like I feel that way about a lot of people I've lost in my life in the last 10 years or so. It's like never did get that opportunity. You know, even with my grandmother, I was there while she was in hospice, and I was the only one from our side of the family that was able to be there. So I was a lot of times like trying to act as a go-between between her and the rest of the family that wasn't there, like my mom and her siblings and the other cousins and stuff. And so when she passed, I really wondered if I couldn't remember if I'd taken the time to tell her what she meant to me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you end up feeling that way about a lot of people you lose in life.
Right.
It was like I never got a chance to say I love you or really tell you how much you meant. And so, you know, I look back on that and I'm grateful that I had that 5 minutes with Freddie going into the end. So
Zach?
I think that's a pretty fitting tribute to kind of wrap up the show with.
I mean, absolutely. I don't, not to leave you on a sad note or anything, but when you're
I
talking,
don't see it as sad, man.
No,
I mean, like,
not at all.
Seven Oaks is such a special place in the pantheon of disc golf courses that exist in the world. I mean, you know, there are tons and tons of special, significant disc golf courses, but there's no other Seven Oaks.
No, and what?
And Seven Oaks is very much the way it is because Freddie was there and is there.
Ask somebody.
Look at hole 11, the monument, the bench.
Have you seen the Frisbee graveyard over there lately? That thing is
But I think really the
busting at the
heckling,
seams.
the heckling. Now it's like if you get heckled on 11, you know, it's like somebody knows who you are. It's like almost like a thing. Like if you don't get heckled, then it just means you're kind of passing through maybe next time. But then you're like, oh man, hit a tree. You know, there's always everybody there, and you know, I think that whole vibe is the biggest part. I mean, you get the monument, the bench there, but it's the 11, the sitting right there, man. I think that's the cool part of it.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Well, and the best part is like you may not remember if you're not from here the name of the park, Seven Oaks. But when you ask somebody, hey, have you ever been to Seven Oaks? And they're like, I was like, you know, Freddie would always be at hole 11. Oh, the guy who looks like Willie Nelson. I know what course you're talking about. And I've had people say, like, I'm pretty sure I saw Willie Nelson playing disc golf over there. I'm like, don't think you saw Willie, but you saw the equivalent of to us.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he's gonna be around forever. There will always be a mark. You know what I mean? Like, look at it. How many years has he been gone now? And his PDGA number is still on the Seven Oaks Summer Solstice hot stamp.
It should be.
You know what I mean? And I think. And that's what we were talking about before, Steve, is like, you know, as this thing gets bigger, you keep the spirit of it by remembering where it came from and acknowledging that it is the way it is because of the people that have been a part of it. And I am grateful for you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Because, you know, you're a symbol of that spirit of disc golf that makes it special and why we all fell in love with it. And
well, it was all pretty selfish, to tell you the truth.
Sometimes it is, but
I'm an addict. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's a good.
My blood's itching. I gotta go.
Be the change you wish to see in the world. That's what they say, right? You saw something and you wanted disc golf to be better, and you and Ken and the people that were with you made it happen.
You know, it was going to be the sport of the '80s, so it took a lot more than that. But
better late than never.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it turned out great. So.
But we're thankful for the people who paved the road to put us where we're at now. Because without you guys, we wouldn't be here.
My coffee cup
somebody
is
would have
empty,
done it.
But to the gentleman.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
For sure. And what do you last outgoing thought, just to be random and inane? Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely not.
Thank you.
I
knew there was a reason that we got along, and there it is. You can wrap it up in pineapple on pizza. It does not belong. So there, Steve Hardie said so. It's true. It's fact. Accept it.
It's in the Geneva Convention. Look it up.
Yeah, it will. If it wasn't before, it is now.
Good night, Nashville.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve, thank you for coming in. And
thanks for having
me.
Thank you. With us.
It was fun.
Yeah, this is awesome, and I think we'll probably have to do it again.
Absolutely, for sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is episode 85. Thanks for hanging out with us. I know the live feed didn't quite work out. We'll try and work on the Wi-Fi issues, but it's bad all over. But the post-produced video is always better anyway. And if you're watching or listening on to the audio, subscribe. Wherever you're getting the show, subscribe. And vote for me in July for the PDJ Board of Directors. I just posted my campaign videos. Share it. There's some tough competition out there, and I think I do a good job. So if you agree, vote for me. And on that note, we'll catch you on the flip side. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, stay tuned. Episode 86, we're going to be talking to Derek Skull from Gatekeeper Media.
Boom.
And it's exciting. Like, share, subscribe, rate, review. And see you.
Love and peace, brother.
Peace.
Let the bass kick.